Hi, I'm Stacy Hart, All-in Party Borough Councillor for Hatchwarren and Beggarwood Ward. At tonight's meeting, alongside with next step details of the fabulous news that our administration is going to proceed with local nature reserve status for Old Down, Cabinet announced that Down Grange will no longer be under consideration for the resiting of the leisure park pitch and putt. This is the absolutely right decision, in my opinion, and I'm really, really pleased that Down Grange will be protected for the future for those who use it and love it. This has been a tricky and long process, but it has been a correct and open process. We know that officers started from a place of a decision inherited from the previous administration about the Great Wharf investment with little or no detail on how that would actually be achieved. So they did lengthy analysis and long listing and short listing of sites, which within the constraints that were then present, ended with Down Grange being chosen as the preferred site to be taken forward. There was committee scrutiny of that process leading up to that decision last month, and whilst some recommendations were made for future work, the process was found to be largely sound on the basis of the facts at the time. So Down Grange being chosen as the preferred site meant that the council would take it forward as the main option, which would then be researched and consulted on with the public and consulted on with the user groups before proceeding to a final decision. And as most of you know, that is what happened next. Over the past year, there has been a phenomenal amount of work done on that, which of course is partly how so many people came to know about the issue, alongside the engagement work that was done by so many residents and members of the public and community groups. Over that last year's process and that time, the council officers and the portfolio holder have continually listened and learned and taken on board what has been said. I personally have had conversations via email and on the doorsteps with many of you, and passed on all of that feedback as part of this. And there's also been new information brought forward, and some of the constraints that the administration were previously under have been removed. So, as was announced at tonight's meeting, Cabinet has decided to designate areas on the leisure park for a new driving range and adventure golf, which are the two main used parts of the current golf offering, and explore other site options in future for a replacement pitch and putt. And Down Grange has categorically been removed from the table for this purpose. Planning anything of this magnitude is always controversial, and controversy is part of this work. And that's why it was right to continue with that long process, not to be afraid of it or to run shy of criticism for the sake of popularity or to run towards public approval for the sake of it. Those things are easy, but they rarely lead to good governance. What they actually lead to is a place where difficult decisions are mostly always made to the detriment of the most voiceless among us. Instead, the choice was to go through it all, to slowly and carefully and irritatingly go through it all and complete that painstaking process of gathering all that evidence so that the administration could come to the evidence-based decision that it did this evening, knowing that all the bases have been covered and with the weight of months of work to justify it properly. Sometimes I know that process has been difficult for a lot of people, but it has been as transparent as possible, and it brought us to this decision this evening. So I'm really glad for the Down Grange users, many of whom have also put huge amounts of work and themselves into this, that their input has been listened to and that the decision that has been made is one that they're happy with. I'd like to thank them and every single one of you that took the time to engage on this issue, whether it was with me or other ward members or Councillor Morrow or the public drop-in or the consultation exercise. Engaging on local issues, especially one as big and as emotive as this, is so important, and it led us to this decision, which I fully believe is the right one. Thanks for watching.